Let's see if this actually works the way that we want it to. And welcome everybody to another show, the 12 o'clock show with Mayor Joe. Joining me as one of my two guests today is, I guess your title is Executive Director, correct? Yes. Executive Director Cheryl Wooten from the Hart Food Pantry. We hope to have State Senator Tina Maharath on as soon as she is able to. She'll be popping on, but unfortunately right now they're getting ready to vote on a budget. So I hope she's able to make it, so we will see. So I'm going to go ahead and start off with you. For those of you that don't know, Reynoldsburg is actually home to Hart Food Pantry and has been for quite some time. I know you've been in at least a couple of locations to help members of our community, but if you want to let everybody know, Hart's mission and what Hart is all about.
Sure. Hart stands for helping Eastside and Reynoldsburg thrive. And our mission and vision is really to express God's love through some tangible resources, high nutrition, as well as really achieving resources and presenting resources that help our neighbors thrive.
Okay.
So in that, we provide lots of fruits and vegetables and shelf-stable items. And as a choice food pantry, there we are. As a choice food pantry, we let them shop for their families on their own.
Okay. Well, thank you very much. We actually just have Senator Maharath joining us today. Thank you, Senator, for coming in. We appreciate it. We know that you're on a very tight time schedule today. Can you hear us okay?
Yes, absolutely.
Okay.
Thank you for having me. I appreciate you all being accommodating to the schedule, especially since today's a really big day.
Well, we're going to go ahead and shift right to you, and we're going to hop into some quick questions because, like I said, I know you have to vote, and I'm not going to ask you how you're voting on the budget, but I can recommend a big fat no, but that's just me. We're going to start off just obviously you're voting today, correct? Today's the day for the Senate version of the budget. So what happens next? Whether it passes, doesn't pass, what's the next step?
Yes, so today after it comes out of the Senate chambers, it will be moving on to conference committee where members of both chambers will be trying to negotiate a different version of the budget that will be satisfying for both chambers, hopefully. And after that, if everything's good, then we go back to our chambers and try to confer on the budget. And after it's conferred, hopefully the governor will veto anything that he doesn't find that is really worthy, or he vetoes the whole thing. It's up to him after that. But after at least my chambers today, it will be going to conference committee.
Well, I know that there are a lot of differences in the House version of the budget and the Senate version of the budget. Are there any highlights that jump out at you that you wanted to kind of discuss a little bit about what you think some of the maybe, and I don't know how much you've had the opportunity to look at the House side of things, but on the Senate side of things, are there a couple of things that you have in the budget that you really like? And is there anything that you might not like so much?
Well, the proposed budget has been treated as a budget for working families, but the reality is under this proposal, Ohio workers are getting shorted. So workers would not be the primary beneficiaries of this proposed tax cut that they're talking about, and working families will be the most affected under the underfunded public schools and the lack of affordable childcare. But I do like to note that under this proposed budget, my bill to designate May as Maternal Mortality Awareness Month did make it through. We did expand Medicaid postpartum coverage for from 60 to 365 days after birth. And we did increase an initial child care eligibility to 142% of the federal poverty level, which is about $31,000 a year for a family of 3. But there's also some negatives of the budget, such as the Senate version not providing any funding for broadband. And this is really incomprehensible because there's underserved areas in every part of all of our states, or our Senate districts. Each one of us represents some parts as urban, some parts as suburban, some parts as rural. But these communities not having broadband service means that each one of us should be demanding that the operating budget will include broadband infrastructure and help connect Ohioans and with education and economic opportunities, because we're essentially creating an equity issue at this point. At this point, it doesn't matter if you're a farmer in Northwest Ohio, a small business owner in Cleveland, or even in Reynoldsburg, but in an elementary school student in Cincinnati, or even a senior in high school in Appalachia, Ohio, they're going to need access to affordable, high quality, high speed internet. And it's our responsibility as elected officials to help workers get back to work by investing in all of these things. But this budget does not reflect that need.
Well, it was somewhat disappointing, especially, I mean, if you take a look at the last year and how our world has changed from, a lot of in-person, a lot of, face-to-face contact. And now, I mean, we're here talking right now through a computer on Zoom. I mean, this is something that, a year and a half ago, this probably wouldn't even been something that we talked about. And so that access is there. Now, I know for Reynoldsburg specifically, our biggest issue is not necessarily the availability of broadband, but it's the affordability of broadband that becomes an issue. So I know we've worked with a couple of partners in our school district to help some of our more needy students in the area kind of cope with some of the additional costs with it. But again, some of that additional federal funding that we know is from the America Recovers Act is out there, and then the state funding and the commitment that has been shown prior to this particular Senate version has been there as well. Now, I know there's another one that's out there that I want to talk about before I jump into school funding. One of the bills, Senate Bill 155, I believe that's yours. Could you want to tell everybody that's watching a little bit more about that?
Yeah, so Senate 155 will prohibit the use of seclusion in public schools. So what seclusion is, it's isolating and confining a student in a separate area until the student is no longer in immediate danger to themselves or others. So it usually occurs in a space that's physically isolated from the common areas while each student is prevented from leaving. So what it does is it does not include a staff member trained in de-escalation in that unlocked room with the student. So you're just locking a student up in a room, and this is a commonality, convenience for teachers to use as a form of punishment, and unfortunately, that's not okay. This creates a lot of mental health issues for students. So we did have sponsored testimony a few weeks ago, and we anticipate having an additional hearing on this bill soon. Right now, we're just trying to work through the operating budget to have it go through the legislative process right now.
Well, when I was a teacher in Columbus City Schools, there was a room that we had in the downstairs room right next to mine. They did actually have a seclusion room. Now, it had not been used since I had been there, and really no one in the building had actually ever seen it used. But you talk about the seclusion room. You opened it up. It was probably the room a little bit bigger than your standard size closet. And it had padding on all four walls. And it was only lockable from the outside, which obviously at some point in time it had been used, in decades past. So, while most people don't think seclusion is that big of an issue, it was still something that, we had the physical room in our building where I used to work. So I applaud your efforts on that, and hopefully that will be something that will go through. All right. So school funding. There were a lot of things, that people had talked about the last couple of years, the Cup-Patterson plan, which then morphed into House Bill 1 on the House side of things. And now you have on your side of things, the Senate bill, which is significantly different. What can you kind of highlight some of the key differences or the key issues in the Senate version about how school funding is addressed?
Mayor,
keep the language clean. It's okay.
There's no good things I can say about that. Because Ohio's children deserve a fair school funding plan. And what's good for all Ohioans if we invested in children. But the thing is, the school funding plan proposed by the Senate is significantly less fair, less dependable, and less comprehensive than the Fair School Funding Plan passed by the House. It's actually, it makes it more unconstitutional. We're investing more in vouchers in private schools than we are in public education. This is a lawsuit waiting to happen. I think I want to say 24 years ago, the Ohio Supreme Court ruled our state's education funding unconstitutional. And the changes that we're going to be making on the Senate version is going to definitely call for a lawsuit. And I have nothing good to say.
All right. Well, I'm right there with you. You know, I spoke with Senator Jay Hottinger in April, and he had talked about it. Nothing real official had come out at that point in time, but I'm curious to see how those parts of it go today. It's disappointing. You know, you mentioned the idea. You know, this isn't an R versus D thing. You know, the House passed it overwhelmingly in a bipartisan manner, so it's not a Republican versus Democrat. It truly is a philosophy of what is the value of public education versus not, and it's a shame. We have districts all around the state of Ohio that are losing funds just for being their district and not being compensated the way that is supposed to be. And hopefully after some vigorous debate today, you know, we'll see what happens. And like I said, I do assume that the budget will pass in the Senate today, but I'm really curious to see what the fight is like in the conference committee between those two things.
Right, because the Fair School Funding Plan the House version, it provides more stable funding and more money to districts that have historically been disproportionately against the rich districts and the poor districts. So those lower incomes or higher property values, God, there was just more transparency on the House version and accountability for Ohioans tax dollars with the school fair funding plan. So our Senate version is just a 360. It's completely unconstitutional. And we were told to make this more constitutional 24 years ago. And it seems like we're going backwards in time rather than forward.
Yeah, there's kind of a joke in there about, you know, the wife that tells her husband to fix things, you know, every 6 months. You don't have to tell me, I'll get around to it eventually. And here we are 24 years later, and it still hasn't been addressed.
Yes.
Before I let you go, I did have one other question that I know that that has been very common to House representatives and state senators, gerrymandering. I know that the census information has not gotten out yet to kind of redistrict at the congressional level and the state level. Do you have any updates on that from what you've heard? Has there been any kind of movement on that front to get that information from the Census Bureau?
Yes, so we did get approval to use a legendary formatting. So what it is it's going to be the census data, but it's going to be not as formatted as we anticipated was supposed to be, because, you know, none of us expected we're going to be in a pandemic. So with the legendary format, is going to still create more work for those who are going to be working on the census data. So it's better, but it's just the fact that we need something that's workable, so that way we can try to meet our constitutional deadlines as much as possible. So I just feel confident that we will not coming, but we need to fight for what we can to try to get a fair district lines, because as you could see, if we don't have fair district lines, we don't have equal representation, and we don't even have adequate funding to the correct places. So I'm going to be optimistic that we will meet our constitutional needs, but the way that it's going with the legendary format, I question if we're going to be able to meet those deadlines.
Well, I appreciate all of your efforts and everything. I hope that when we have a lot of big activities here this summer in Reynoldsburg, including our Tomato Festival. So we hope to see you out here in Reynoldsburg. We really appreciate the giving some of your precious time to come in and speak with all of us today. But I know you've got voting to go to, and hopefully some things to yell about, which I'm always impressed with how you handle yourself on the floor with everything. And I appreciate your service to the city of Reynoldsburg.
Absolutely. I appreciate your time. Thank you for having me. And of course, I look forward to continue to serving you, because this fight is not an easy fight, but I just feel great knowing that there's constituents out there who needs a better voice in our local government. And as you could tell, we don't have those fair districts. We won't have that proper representation. So I hope to see everyone this summer.
All right. Thank you so much, Senator. We appreciate it.
Thank you.
Bye. Again, very appreciative. I didn't mean to want to cut you off. I just know that she's got to go run over to the State House and yell and vote and things of that nature. So for those of you that had questions with that, I will try and pass those on to the state senator if anything popped up. I know the gerrymandering question tended to be one question that I knew was coming anyway, if that one came up there, but we'll see. So going back to you. All right. So we ended up kind of talking a little bit about Heart's mission and what you're doing. So tell us a little bit more about like what you're looking to do as you move forward.
Okay. Let me give you a little bit of background,
okay,
so you can see from where we came. So you may not know that Heart is celebrating 10 years this year. Mm-hmm. We originally was in one unit in a commerce center close by here, and serving about 250 to 500 people per month. Okay. We moved to 3 units and became a partner with Mid-Ohio Food Collective as part of our nutrition chain. And in doing that, immediately in November of 2019, we began to feed 800 people per week. And it kept growing. And I joined Heart in December of 2019. And I shared with the board that we were going to hit about the 1,200 mark by April. And we did. But then COVID came about. So what was happening is that we are in 5,400 square feet now and completely overgrown. Doesn't mean that we don't serve people. We make it happen. You know how you do at home. It's like, okay, one more and you'll make room. So, but our goal is to be able to find another facility, another location to grow what we are currently doing, and then to offer other resources and services that will help our neighbors flourish. Because the Nourish part of it is great, and we'll continue to do that. And they're welcome to come and shop each week for their families. So, but to move out of the poverty, level, or to really better serve their family, there's some resources that are out there that we need to make connections with and help them be able to grow.
Well, I know that originally when we talked about, just not long after I came on board, just after you did, we had those conversations and you were talking about 1,200, and then COVID hit, and then all of a sudden the line was down Main Street, and
Yes.
The phone call about needing to have some traffic control and things like that. We were on it quick. We had our RPD units out there and all of that
Right.
partnership with it. And I know that, it's a great partnership. We love having you here. We wish we didn't need you. No offense. Sorry. But it's one of those things that's there. So for everybody who's watching, if they would like to help at some point in time, what are some ways that they can help Heart Food Pantry?
The obvious ways, financial donation, volunteering is big. We have a very small but mighty paid staff. And we serve 800 to 1,000 people a week with mainly volunteers. So a lot of our volunteers are educated. They've come from a background in management. We make them floor managers. We utilize their skills. Some are retired, on their way to retiring, and or can donate, a day. So volunteers are critical. We can't do what we do without volunteers. And we like to also get you in an area where you want to be. So if you really want to have some dialogue with your neighbors, then we're going to put you in a place where that can happen. If you really want to do some other things, be inside, outside, we're going to make sure that your experience is really good, and that you feel like you've come and served well. And then the other thing that I tend to tell people when I speak at their organizations, which might surprise you, is the big thing you can do doesn't cost you anything. And that's to make it okay for someone to ask for help. So often people don't want to ask for help, or they don't know where to go to ask for help, or how's, there's still the stigma of food insecurity, that I might need some help. During COVID, that should have been the very last thing you had to worry about, because it was there, the food was there, and it continues to be there. And we want that stressor to come off, the plate, so to speak, of our neighbors, the school kids. If you're stressing as a parent, and then we've all been there, gee, what am I going to feed my child tonight or tomorrow? What's for dinner? That's not just about food. That's about the whole dynamic of the family unit. Yeah. So we want to make sure that, we're there. Don't be embarrassed. Let someone know it's okay. Tell them about Heart. Tell them about, that it's okay. That's the main thing. And then certainly come tour. We can now do tours inside. We make it very cautionary as well, though. We wear masks still inside. We allow 10 neighbors to shop at a time. So it's still a little socially distanced. And we have sanitizers all over. So we really do make sure that the protocols are in place, that if you want to come and see what we do and how you can serve, we would love for you to come for a tour.
Well, I think one of the things that kind of strikes people, and I know initially this is what was planned, and then COVID had to change a little bit, but the idea that that if you didn't know any better, it's walking into any other grocery store you've ever been in your entire life. It doesn't look any different than that. You have your produce section that nobody wants to pay attention to. You have your frozen section, then you have the dessert section, which everybody wants to pay attention to. And you go in there, and there's no judgment, there's no hassle, there's none of that. I know in the limited times that I've been able to be out there, basically loading some of the carts to go out and to the community when you were doing the drive-through thing that's there. I know that people have gone out there. I know Tuesdays are a big day for volunteer work and things like that. But if you do want to, you're on Facebook, you can call, try and figure out a way to come in and volunteer and donate a little time.
Well, let me tell you that I want to go back for just a second, those cars on Main Street, to which I say a great big thank you to you and the police, the city for supporting us and getting the officers out there to help. Honestly, we did not, no one knew how quickly this was going to grow. Yeah. And we determined as an organization and as a team, our team came together and said, we're not going to close. This is the time we need to stay open. We need to be there. We need to make sure people are fed. We need to make sure people see a smiling face, and ironically, having been here 10 years, people will came to us and say, I didn't even realize we needed you until I saw that line. So after 10 years of being here, and with the, 68% of our kiddos are at risk with food insecurity, I guess you can call that advertising, but for all of you who were behind the cars that were in line, we apologize, but we got them through as quickly as possible. We put things in place and remedies that we really aren't out on Main Street any longer and have a queue line. But when we do, please be gracious and understand folks don't want to come to a food pantry. They need to come to a food pantry. And then the things that we offer as well will help them grow and serve the community.
It's great work, and we're very appreciative as a city for this. In an odd way, one of the perks of this job that I never knew I had is the ability to marry people. I didn't know if you knew that. I don't take payments for it, but anyone that does want to get married, basically my charity of choice is Heart Pantry. So that's when anybody gets married, then that goes there. So I do marriages. It's great. There's usually about 3 or 4 a year.
I thought you were going to hook me up.
No.
I'm sitting here going, what's he going to say?
I can get you at the end of the line, but getting to that point, that's a whole other different thing. So, but for those of you out there, again, obviously financial contributions and everything else are in there. I know we're working on a couple of other different things as well to help support Heart. One of the events is actually going on this week.
You can tell because it's raining.
It's raining.
It's raining. It's not mirror-filled, but it's close. It is our golf classic. It's called the Mulligan Golf Classic, Scoring a Second Chance. And this is an event that serves not only Heart, but also the Reynoldsburg Education Foundation. And, when they began just 2 years ago, COVID hit at the same time that they opened the foundation. So we invited them to join us on this golf outing, and we split the proceeds. So you're really helping 2 great organizations at once. There's still time to play in between the raindrops. And it ends Friday at the close of businesses at Cumberland Golf Trail. By all means, give us a call, set up a tee time, go out and then benefit 2 great organizations. It's
a lot of fun. I was able to participate last year, still trying to find a way to squeeze it in this year with my incredibly horrible golf game. But last year when we went out, again, we went out at the best possible time when it was raining. Sure. It was awesome. But it was more, honestly, it was just the 4 of us that were out. We were just having a good time, and we knew that we were supporting a good cause. And that's really, again, part of it. So I appreciate your efforts with that. Do we have any questions at all right now?
Yeah, Neil Whitman wants to know, what should we do with our carts after using the Heart Food Pantry?
That's a good question. What should we do with our shopping carts at Heart Food Pantry?
They go back inside.
There we go. Cheryl's usually too busy working. That's one of my little taglines at the end of my show, is always putting your shopping carts away. My wife has actually gotten frustrated because now she just looks at me. We were at a grocery store this past weekend, and there were 2 shopping carts. The cart return line was here, and it was 5 spaces over, and there were 2 other carts right there. And I'm like, come on. So I ended up taking a few in there just because. I'm not going to be so demanding that the large carts have to go in the large line and the small carts in the small line. Just put them in there. That's it. So that's where. Thank you, Mr. Whitman. I always appreciate that your commentary on that. Anything else for right now?
No, that was it.
All right. Well, I would love for you to stick around and hear a little
Okay.
bit about what's going on in the community. Normally, we talk a lot about code enforcement in the community, and I want to give a shout out to a great local institution. That Tim Hortons on Main Street has done a phenomenal job under the very difficult circumstances. So I'm going to show you a little bit of a picture here. Part of our, code enforcement is taking care of your driveways, your parkways, and all of your asphalted grounds all the way throughout. And in spite of some of the conditions that are out there, specifically with COVID and things like that, we were able to work with Tim Hortons to go ahead and redo and restripe all of their particular parking area. It looks phenomenal, and we thank you, Tim Hortons, for it. We know that it's not always the easiest thing in the world to deal with some of those kind of deferred maintenance costs and things like that. But I want to give a shout out to them. They've been very supportive of the city in the past, and we were happy to work with them as we kind of went through that process. Code enforcement is still out. They're still out there, on a weekly basis. They're doing a lot of different things, because again, we're trying to make things look a little bit more aesthetically pleasing throughout the city. But I'll have some more news on that in a little bit. We do have a lot of things going on, including, of course, during the rain. We do have our community litter challenge for our litter heroes. Hopefully you saw the picture of some of our own heroes out this past week, picking up some different litter throughout the city. We have a great contest going on, so we do need you to send those pictures into us here at City Hall so we can get some prizes. Wendy's, Nothing Bundt Cake, Ohio Select, Radio Nutrition, Starstruck, and Canes have all donated prizes for the litter challenge. So you can go out. Again, you don't have to fill 15 bags worth of trash. You just have to go out and make an effort. If you need trash pickers or trash bags, come down to City Hall. We'll have them for you. We can check them out to you so you can take care of it. Take a picture, send them back into us, and then you'll be entered into the contest, which we'll announce next week. So we hope to have a lot of entries, especially this weekend. I know last weekend it was absolutely gorgeous out, but there were a lot of graduation ceremonies. We had the fabulous artisan makers market, which we got some great reviews on out there. So again, there were a lot of things out there, but hopefully over the next couple of days, we can get people going out for that. We do have our fireworks. They're still on. I know every now and then on social media, I see, are we still having fireworks? Absolutely. Yes, we are. They're going to be on Friday, July 2nd at Civic Park. The gates are going to open at 6:30. We're going to have some music, and we're going to have some food trucks, and we're going to actually have some music playing to our fireworks this year, which will be something that is new. So we hope to have you out at Civic Park. We are going to broadcast it live on Facebook as well. How exactly we're going to do that to get those beautiful shots from a camera, not sure yet, but we're going to make it up as we go. The next morning, bright and early, we're going to have the 4th of July parade on the 3rd. It's at 10 a.m. So I know there's still time to register if you would like to participate in the parade, but it's going to be a great thing. I know that the Community Association is putting that on. We had Chuck Cochran from the Community Association on last week. They're not charging businesses to come in to do this. This is a chance to kind of advertise and get the word out for it. But as we did joke multiple times, yes, the politicians are going to get charged for it, and deservedly so. We do have a couple of great city events coming up this week. We actually have our first ever Pride Festival here in Reynoldsburg. It's going to be June 12th at Civic Park from 5 to 7. Got a couple of events and food trucks going on for that one. This is going to be the first one. So kind of like last year with our next event, Juneteenth is going to be on June 19th. Will be a celebration at Huber Park. And we have a lot of things with that. So we went small on Juneteenth last year, and this year it's going to become a fabulous staple of Reynoldsburg community. So it's going to be a great event honoring, the emancipation of slavery. So that is going to be a great event at Huber Park. And then this year, the June Pride event is going to be a little bit smaller. And then I'm sure it will grow next year as more and more people participate. For Juneteenth, we have a 5K. We are also being sponsored by the African American Wellness Screenings. Will be there as well, including food trucks, but only after you get your health screening. You don't have to participate in the 5K for it, but again, it would be something that'll be out there to, again, improve the local health all the way across. There'll be a lot of vendors. I believe a number of different opportunities are going to be out there for everything. So hope to have you all out over the next couple of weekends at Civic Park and Huber Park. The Reynoldsburg Historical Society is having their fundraiser on June 23rd from 11 to 9 p.m. at Max and Irma's on Broad Street. You can go to their Facebook page and pick up a flyer there. We also, again, we already talked about the Education Foundation Mulligan Tournament. Would you like some water? Oh, okay. Yep. We have
It's sinuses.
Oh, that's fine. And then we also have the last golf outing of the year that we've been told about so far is for Reynoldsburg Wrestling. They're going to be sponsoring a golf outing on July 24th at the Safari Golf Club. It's going to be shotgun style. It's about $100 per player, $400 per team, but the proceeds will go to the Reynoldsburg Wrestling Association all the way through there. So I hope you can join us for that. We do have our blessing boxes that are a much smaller and independent version of what Heart Food Pantry is doing. But again, we always appreciate the support there. There is a Facebook page that is updated frequently to let everybody know if there's a specific part of town that needs a little bit of help or not. Go ahead.
Thank you.
And the magical hand comes in from the side with water. We do have a skate park update. I saw yesterday, obviously we've been trying to get the skate park taken care of for a while. Part of it is delays are due to, as you can tell today, especially the weather. But the other thing that's kind of delayed things a little bit is some materials. We all know that some of the materials for wood and some of the construction materials are significantly more expensive and harder to come by. Specifically, plywood is kind of delayed a little things, but the idea is that we're paving the entire area on June 24th. And so today's June 9th. So we've got about 2 weeks before they have to get it done. So we want to get everything done before we get that paving in there. So we're going to try and move a lot of that in there. Now, one of the things that I do want to talk about, and you'll be seeing more if you're followers of the Reynoldsburg City Council, not this Monday, but the following Monday, you're going to start to see some legislation come up for use of some of our America Recovers Act money. So there are a number of different initiatives that have been looked at to benefit the community as a whole, including grants for existing small businesses, as well as new small businesses, including women, minority, and veteran-owned businesses will be available. We're also working on something for some code enforcement issues for housing, residential housing. We are going to be putting forth legislation for Main Street traffic improvements. So a lot of you have talked about take away the construction that's going on now. I completely understand that. But a lot of times our traffic lights are not synced in the way that they probably could be. So one of the things that we're going to try and do is actually sync the traffic lights. So when you're leaving on your way to go to, say, 270 to go to work, it's going to be synced to a point where the traffic's going to flow significantly easier that way. And then especially on the return trip home, when everybody just wants to get home and not sit in traffic, again, the lights will be synced a little bit better that way as well. We are also going to be working with the Truro Township Fire Department in bringing in what is known as Opticom. This is basically a system that you may have seen for emergency response vehicles, that if they are called to an emergency, one of the most dangerous times is when they leave and they're on the road to get to their location with traffic lights. This will actually open them up so they will be green. So that way the traffic will, the fire trucks can flow a lot easier and the emergency vehicles can get out there as well. But that's something that we're doing in support of the Truro Township Fire Department. So I hope Chief Sharps, when we talk with him in a couple of weeks, we'll have some more details about that. We are also going to be working on some stormwater and sewer improvements in different parts of our community. We know that there have been some issues in the Briarcliff area off Brighton and a number of other areas where they've seen, when it rains to a heavier extent, there's some water issues, specifically with stormwater flow and management. And one of the things that the America Recovers Act money provides is an opportunity for some of that money to be used to actually improve those conditions. So we want to try and pick up some of the issues with infrastructure that have been really in place for probably 30, 40 years that it's just been difficult to in place. So we're working on getting that stuff together to get the engineering done this year. And then hopefully the following year, next year, we can get a lot of that done. But it's been a great opportunity to work with our service department and talking with our streets department to identify some of those areas that are of great need. So there's other things that are going to come from this as well. Some specific improvements to different things. You'll also see legislation coming up very soon for the improvements on Wagner Road. That will be on the second meeting in June. So we are moving forward with our Wagner Road project. For those of you that have been following along, that's been a passion of mine to make it safer all the way across. So we're going to have sidewalks and bike paths on either side of it and widening it in certain areas and things like that. So we're getting that legislative process started that second meeting of June. So we're going to have a lot of things going on with that over the next couple of years. Any questions so far?
No questions, but a couple things to think about was maybe the farmer's market that starts tomorrow.
There's a farmer's market?
There's a farmer's market.
There's a farmer's market. So we do have a farmer's market. It is a phenomenal thing. It actually is going to have a number of great vendors. Please come out and take a look at it. It's going to be at JFK, which is right next to City Hall. It's going to start at 4 o'clock and it usually lasts till about 7 o'clock. I'm usually here right after. It's really actually kind of fun. You have the people that leave the school board building and they go in and they do their thing. And then as this building gets out, and pretty much for one of the few times nobody runs right to their car, they always go to the farmer's market first. Then they run to their car and go away. But that's always a good thing for the farmer's market to go out there and enjoy that as well. Also music in the cul-de-sac. So go ahead and take a look at that. We had our first one last week, and I know weather depending, it will be here as well. Lots of other things going on, just trying to give you a little snapshot of everything. And if you want to know that was Jennifer talking about it, because she's running the farmer's market and she wasn't going to let me get away with not talking about having the farmer's market as there. Any other questions, comments, or anything so far?
Yep.
All right. Next week, we are going to have Reynoldsburg Chamber of Commerce President Rick Wagner. He's going to come in and talk to us about what the Chamber of Commerce is doing and how we're trying to revitalize a lot of our local businesses, because again, without local business, the city of Reynoldsburg does not survive. They were very kind this actually last week to have their meeting, their monthly meeting, which allowed all the nonprofits in Reynoldsburg to come and present and have some time to talk to people, which was great. So we always like to support our Chamber of Commerce, and we're lucky enough to have Rick come out here next week. We're also going to have Franklin County Treasurer Cheryl Brooks Sullivan joining us as well. She's going to come out and talk to us a little bit about what the Franklin County Treasurer does. This is probably, you may have seen, if you still get this archaic thing, it's called a newspaper. They actually post things in there, sometimes funds that aren't picked up. I don't know if any of the younger viewers out there know what a newspaper is. It's things that you read online except on paper. So there you go. But it has that information in there to kind of track down some of those funds. So she's going to tell us a little bit more about what her job is and how it impacts the citizens of Reynoldsburg. With that, again, special thanks to State Senator Tina Maharath for joining us today, obviously with her busy schedule, and much appreciation to Cheryl, not only for being able to join us today, but for all the work that you and all your volunteers do at Heart. It is a great organization. It is a great thing that you are doing every day that we wish you didn't have to do, but because of you, people's lives are changed for the better. And we're very appreciated.
And if I can just take a moment to thank the city of Westerville again, thank you. And all my time in working with nonprofits, you get asked every community, is there really a need for this? Is there really need for that? And it's like, well, do you have people? And yes, there's need. Mm-hmm. And the mark of a great community isn't whether you have needs or don't have needs. The mark of a great community is how you address those needs. Yeah. And I have found Reynoldsburg to be so accommodating, and even from the Parks and Rec and doing the bicycle, at every aspect, I have found that Reynoldsburg is addressing the needs of the community in very meaningful, impactful ways. So I really appreciate that, and I appreciate your continued support.
Happy to be going to be a good partnership for a long time to come.
Thank you.
So again, stay safe, everybody out there. Try and stay as dry as you can. And as always, like I said, always put your shopping carts away, whether you're at Heart Food Pantry or another grocery store.
They'll get sanitized that way.
Yeah, so that way we can take care of it. So everybody else have a wonderful time. And again, we'll see you next week. Bye, everybody.
Thank you.